thank you for joining us again on Next Level Up. Today's guest is Bruce Hoffman. He's the founder and CEO of Optimized Pros, a company helping small and mid-sized businesses drive serious efficiency through smart AI and automation. But Bruce isn't just selling tools, he's diagnosing operational bottlenecks and applying tech where it actually saves time, money, and sanity. We'll unpack his journey as a fractional CTO and why efficiency equals strategy, and how he's helping clients reclaim 700 plus hours a month through AI-driven systems. So thanks for being with us, Bruce. How you doing?
Great, great. How about yourself?
I'm doing awesome. This is Wednesdays are always a good day for me. Um, so let's rewind a bit. How'd you get into this space to begin with? What's the path that led you up to here?
Well, so my background is really coming from building data products, and that's really everything around working with the mathematicians and data scientists and AI ML engineers to build things, based upon data and understanding of that. Coming out from the corporate world where we did that end to end, I saw this need in the mid-size market where I could come in as a fractional CTO to consult with them, but people didn't really understand even what did that role really do for them if they weren't a technical company. So it so I really began to look at, okay, here the problem set is really about, what's going on in their operations and how can we make them more efficient. And really the thing that caught it for me was that the current AI craze slash hook allowed me to reopen the door for automation, which is really where most of the early value can be applied in just about any situation.
And I would assert, well, let me take a shot. Was one of your major problems with the fractional CTO is almost describing what you're going to do with them and what you're going to do for them? That whole
Right, right, because it's they often these smaller mid-sized companies, they're going and they're saying, hey, I've got a problem, let me go research the internet and then I'm going to start evaluating some software.
yeah.
Right, which is what my role is really able to do with them. But trying explaining that to them, they think, okay, you're somebody, because again, my familiarity, I know how to build products,
Yep.
and I've spent all that time, doing that, and that just confuses people more than it does help them understand what's possible.
Yeah, I mean, my last successful exit was a white gloves IT MSP, which people can wrap their brains around, but it was in the cloud. So it's like, we're going to take all that off of you. And this was all before the cloud was even getting marketing dollars. So they're like, what do you mean you're going to put it in some, what's a data center? It's like, okay. So I get that
Right,
the
right. Like
problem set.
technology companies who want a technologist to help them build their products are the ones that understand the role.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where I've gotten work regularly doing that. But that's working with technology companies. That's not help using technology to help other companies become successful.
It's just creating a new technology project. I get it. And so for you now with automation and everything else, do you find one of the benefits is it's much easier to explain what you're going to do, why you're doing it, and what the benefit is?
Yeah, I think that's the key is understanding the benefits better and being able to explain, hey, I've got, a problem. I have people that do this thing that's very repetitive,
Yeah.
and I imagine there's some sort of AI, which is what everyone says, there's some sort of AI can really help me to go do this,
Yeah.
because it's the AI marketing is all they're thinking about. They still don't understand what the solution is, but now they just hear that AI can go solve this for them.
So it's basically they can see the gap getting covered using AI. So was there a specific moment or client while you roll back a couple years before getting into this latest venture that really was like, ooh, I think this is a gap I can solve or we can solve?
Yeah, I think I was working with a financial services firm, and I was partnering with the CIO and the CTO for all the things that they didn't have time to do.
Right.
And that's what made me realize, it opened that mindset for me of, oh, okay, here's a company that's very technology centered, and they still have a lot of challenges doing the things that they don't have time to do. Now take that across to all the companies that don't have those kind of people even in house. How they don't even, it's like they don't know how to ask the question even.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I mean, I'm working, one of my clients right now is very much that way, technologically immature. So to your point,
Right.
it's they barely can map some of their business processes and understand how it works today, let alone looking at AI or some new wave technology of like, oh, this will really connect dots that we couldn't do previously.
Yeah, and it seems it's often the people who are doing strategy work now with those companies that they're the
Yeah.
ones that are calling me in to say, okay, they can see, okay, they've helped them identify, we've got a problem, we need to become more efficient. Where, we want the company to become either to grow faster, be able to buy other companies, or to be able to become worth more.
Yeah.
And that's sort of their now key of, I need to go do something. And it's happening in a lot of spaces too.
Nice. Awesome. So talk to us now. We'll transition into today with Optimized Pros. Who are you helping? What's that actually look like? What does that work look like?
So it's interesting. I focused my resources in around operations for supply, distribution, and manufacturing, and I'm doing some help there. I'm also, because of the networking, getting a number of legal firms who are seeing, oh, okay, I've got these functions, which ones can I actually, replace, because everybody's coming for me these days,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of consolidation happening in the industry. And so it's almost a protection move for the ones that are forward enough thinking. Um, and it's a real variety of I try to focus my things in on, hey, I have these products that are very efficient and effective to help, say, in order processing or in understanding what's happening with your machines. But the requests I get are just, it could be just about any piece of the business that they're trying to make more efficient.
Yeah. Clear. And is the goal, I can see one of your potential goals being something around going into, again, verticals like illegal or supply chain management, or these things that are, they all have their own way of doing it, but there's still kind of a meta process that kind of gets fleshed out over time. Is that one of your long-term goals, is to be able to kind of refine that and then go to market in those industries?
Yeah, I think, and what I'm focusing a lot on is, rather than building product,
Mhm.
identifying platforms that we can configure, so it's using software, because so much is being invested in the software. We don't want to build for them if we don't have to, because they're going to spend a lot more on that build, and the companies are spending time creating these platforms that we can then, with the sort of low code, no code kind of vision, and a small amount of coding, to primarily integrations
Yeah.
into custom systems. That feels like the best direction to drive the companies. And I still do get a lot of, hey, I want to own this thing.
Yeah.
And so,
That-
owning it is about 5 times as much as
yeah.
subscribing to it.
It's funny because I used to use, when I was helping do a lot of high traffic websites way back when the internet was barely the internet. And like, they all wanted geographic, high redundancy. I'm like, oh, we're going to 6x this bill. Are you sure you have the business needs? Like, if the site's down, you think they just won't come back tomorrow? For Amazon and those kind of guys, where path to purchase is critical, that makes more sense. But for, Joe's niche, company, not so much, right? And I get it. So uh, they want to protect their competitive advantage, but that costs money. Where do you
Right.
normally
And
go
it's
with
and
those
it's not,
conversations? Good.
I offer them the build model, with a support contract that, sits behind it, that's not that much smaller. The support contract that's not that much smaller than just the subscription of the platform
Yeah.
function. And often enough, they'll bite on the much larger bill.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, because they've been that's been the way that people have seen it going. I want to own this, et cetera. I get it.
Yeah, but you know,
And
you
you
think
don't,
about all the services you don't own, you know, whatever. You don't own your email
yeah,
service, right? You
Azure
know,
and O365, right? Everything is again back to the cloud,
right?
right?
Yeah, you don't own your CRM. You don't. I mean, that just you just look across the board. There's so much of the things are thing, rather than building. I try to get people to think about what is your primary function of business? Is this thing that we building you know something that many other people would use, so you're building it so that then you want to actually go resell it, or you
Right.
really just building it just for yourself, and is there something that's similar that's already out there?
Yeah. And again, one of the main thrusts for Amplexus, I mean, it's kind of our core. If I distill it to people, it's helping companies monetize their intellectual property. So, yeah, there are
Right.
times where it's like, hey, this might have some competitive advantage, but I'd much rather turn around and sell it to, people outside my region for X dollars and make it money and do some kind of joint venture. And sometimes to your point, it's like, nope, if I have this and mine's better than everybody else and I get 10% more of the market, it's worth it for me. So I get the decision point. How do you, let me say it this way, in your go to market, I would imagine then there's two main thrusts. If they can drive revenue or growth from it, or there's some cost savings ROI. But either way, it's an ROI, right? It's like, how do
Right.
you, given where you're in, sometimes that may or may not be easy to manage. How do you manage that conversation?
It a lot of it ties into the size of the company and the number of people that are doing the same task.
Yeah.
So, it's a conversation when you talk to somebody who's got 15 people doing the same task versus one or two people doing the same task.
Yep.
It changes, how do I want to speak to them, and what do I want to offer, also.
Yeah. Because I
So
imagine I was in robot automation a lot in a previous part of my life, and it was always a conversation less about displacing people and more about if we can get them stop doing things that computers are really good at, we can have them do things that humans are really good at.
right.
Is that
Or we can look at, if you have 15 people doing something and you can get it down to maybe you only need 10 of them to do that now says you have room for growth.
yeah,
And then you can, with consolidation, you have the opportunity, buy other companies. I mean, you can do it as a cost saving. So to let, and then that does happen, that we find that especially on the really boring jobs, and we replaced one that was literally just cut and rotate images, and there was such a volume that it was almost five people's full-time job to do
yeah,
this all day long. So everybody hated that job.
yeah, right. Nobody,
you
it's
know,
like I remember my
and
one of
most
my
of the
first
people
jobs.
switched to
Yeah,
other roles, but some people just like, okay, I guess I'm not going to do it anymore. So but nobody liked the job. It was this, something
yeah.
they had to do.
One of my first jobs was the telemarketer while I was still in high school, and we had again some of those clients we loved doing because they were great conversations, et cetera. And then I won't name names because protect the innocent, but there were one or two clients that were always around because they needed people to call for stuff. And man, you hated getting stuck on. It's like, oh man, today's going to be a drag making calls and talking to people. So I get it. So, what do you wish more SMB leaders understood about automation before they like again, part of this conversation is obviously to help a little bit of networking. Some people get a chance to find you if they're hearing this podcast, they're like, that sounds like Bruce is my guy to solve my problem. Like, what do you wish more of the SMB leaders would think about or understand about automation before they reach out to you?
If you don't know what your standard operating procedure is for doing something, that you should spend some time trying to figure it out, because what'll happen is people will come and say, hey, I want to make this thing better. And I find out they don't even really understand what the thing is. They don't understand what the thing is. And I end up giving, the very first conversation is giving them homework or saying, hey, we can do a consult operation to build standard operating procedures for you. And so that's not our preference, but it's kind of almost like a requirement, because if you don't know what the list of things are to do and how you should go about doing,
Yeah.
you can't just go tell the AI or the automation, and well, go do this thing. It will guess at the best way to do it, but likely that won't be compliant or whatever it is that you need it um, to be. So yeah,
Yeah.
so the more people understand that, and again, we can help them identify their process and document it for them, but understanding the critical need to be successful, because you need to have something to work against, and to measure against also, and to understand that that's what you're going to measure is, hey, this was this procedure, and now we've automated these 7 steps of 18. Is that better than it was before? If I don't know what it was like before, I can't really tell if I've improved upon it.
Yeah, and back to that measurement for the ROI, I get that. And from my perspective, just see if this is accurate for you. Usually, the people that are less mature and don't have those processes mapped out, they certainly don't have KPIs generally,
Right.
right? Because
Right.
because to your point, like they're not even really trying to standardize it, let alone measure it, which I always find fascinating.
Yeah. And it's okay if there's 5 or 6 different ways that people do it, and you're one or two.
Yeah,
For larger companies, actually, we discovery tools that are designed to go identify, here's the process, here was the standard operating procedure, but this is actually how, all of these different departments are doing that. So
yeah,
there are tools to go figure it out, but that is definitely more at the enterprise level, I'd say.
yeah.
It's too expensive to do for the smaller companies.
Yeah, I looked again back to the RPA stuff. I looked for a lot of tools during that. I think Salinas or one of them was, but to your point, they're very much now we're in the 600, 800 million. They're definitely not SMB, MMB plays because either, well, they just cost too much, right? So it's like if you're not
It'll be
trying to,
a minimum $50,000 engagement, just figure out what the what the
yeah,
optimal processes are.
right. And then the tool itself is a couple hundred grand, so it's like, yeah, I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I got it. So that's pretty awesome. Any place like what's your biggest hurdle? Like where do your deals stall today? ROI clarity, the change management side of things that they don't
I
even know
think
what to ask. Good.
no, I mean, a lot of it just comes into they think AI is this silver bullet solution, just like every other silver bullet come before. It's going to be super cheap,
Yeah.
right? And it's going to happen like instantaneously.
Yeah.
And
5 minutes,
it's
$5.
it's not as expensive as it was to do things, but it's still, it's far from free.
Yeah.
And a lot of the expectation setting and the time setting often is a challenge. And so it's often during the contracting that they realize that they just didn't budget well. And that's why I'm more often now in the early conversation saying, hey, you should expect at least this much monthly and this much to set this up. And if this conversation, if that's not within your realm of spend or your ability to approve that,
Yeah.
then we should know that now, so we don't go all the way through this and then figure out, oh, it
Yeah. We
didn't make
should.
sense to go do.
No, that's really great. I like to get people to opt in or opt out, given like, look, you're going to hate it, hate us. We're going to hate you. This is not going to be a win-win. This is going to be a slog if you're not clear. I get that. So what's next for Optimized Pros? What do you think the vision is for the next couple of years? What are some of the opportunities? What might get in your way?
So we're going to solidify our product suite around what we're doing in these spaces around legal and supply chain, and focus our marketing and deliver within that space. And what I think see is we're seeing right now a bunch of individual tools and tool delivery to like solve low hanging fruit problems for companies. We're going to see is that the tool suites are going to start acting very and saying, okay, well, instead of just doing this one thing or these two things, we're going to see the entire picture of a, the tools are going to say, hey, I'm going to do these 8 things for you, and they're going
Yeah.
to suggest actually should be done. That's going to be a hard sale and a hard thought process for the companies. So I think that's going to take a while. So we're going to continue to deliver, good short-term value because that's what's going to sell the companies. But the ones that see it are eventually going to start saying, well, wait a second, why am I not getting these 6 other things?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what other people are getting now.
What
Does that
I
make sense?
assume,
The
yeah,
way,
it
the
does
way I
100%.
described that?
Yeah,
Okay,
100%.
good.
And I would assert, right, that you would start getting social proof that you kind of have this, let's call it a platform now for that vertical, and people like wins, right? So when they hear other people have won, and you can come in with the concrete numbers that show, hey, implement all, don't just do 1 and 7. If we do 1 through 8 over the next period of time, this is what you should be able to expect. Is that kind of what you're trying to set up for that future?
Yeah, exactly. Because they'll be like, hey, we want to, we have this feel this big problem here, but as you get, this has always been the way, in technology, people will say, hey, I need you to help me solve this problem now, and if they will let you identify that that's the like the resulting problem, but the source is somewhere else, and with them to solve these bigger issues that they didn't even realize were the issues
Yeah.
is where you need to get to.
Yeah. I mean, again, that to me speaks to the maturity. Like often the conversations are more around some esoteric thing they want, and they can't actually define what that is. So I get that if you can give them a playbook, it sounds like that's what you guys are ultimately doing is start to give them a
Yeah.
playbook for, look, this is ultimately really where you want to get, or at least the bones of it. And then we can alter that a little bit in our engagement, which is really sweet. Yeah, well, Bruce, this has been a master class in grounded AI. Thanks for breaking it down and showing us how ops and automation and empathy with your customers really can all come together and work together. So, can't wait to get this episode out so people can watch it. And thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Any parting words?
Yeah, let's see where the future takes us.
I love it. I love it.